Hello, everyone. Welcome to Back Lot Banter, the show on Back Lot Banter. We review all sorts of movies and things of that nature. I'm your host, Tanner Dykstra. I'm joined here by Tucker Hazel and Abram Buhner. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, join our Discord. That link is in the description because we have a little channel there where we can talk about movies. And we're going to talk about a brand spanking new movie that came out last weekend. We're a little late on the draw here. But we're talking about Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yep.
It's interesting that we're doing this one because of course, the first Back Lot Banter video was for the last Premiere Access film, Mulan.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you two fuckers went and saw this in the theater after I already paid $30 for it on our joint family plan Disney Plus account. Don't tell Ted Disney about that.
Guess that's true. We could have just mooched off of you.
Yes, but so we all saw it. I saw it actually projected with a projector onto that wall.
Oh, nice.
So we still had...
We saw it projected onto a giant screen in a movie theater.
On a bigger wall.
Yeah.
But you probably didn't have shitty kettle corn from Target. Well,
kettle corn already shitty. Shitty kettle corn even worse.
But Tucker, is this a shitty movie?
Is this a shitty movie?
I think it's a fun time.
I'm going to posit kind of.
I liked it. I thought it. Yeah. I think it was fairly forgettable in a lot of respects. I think there's some really strong concepts in Raya that really aren't executed on very well. And some that are just really heinous in my opinion. But the end result is just it's all right, you know?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I don't really consider myself a fan of Disney movies, which I know gets me a lot of shit. But the thing is, I've seen most of the ones that people consider to be the classics. I know the stories of them, and they've been on.
You've read the lore.
I know the movies. I've seen them, but none of them really connected to me when I was a kid. It was really only specific ones. Ratatouille, WALL-E, Toy Story, like those were the ones that I really connected to growing up, and they're ones that I respect the most now. And when I end up watching movies geared towards children as a 20-year-old adult male individual, it makes me realize that honestly they're probably all on similar quality levels. We just have a nostalgia for the ones when we were kids.
No way.
And if we were kids and we saw this one, I think that this would be one of my favorite movies.
Tucker, you know how I know that's not true? Because there were children in the theater with us who didn't laugh once at this movie. I think that is a heinous thought to bring up, that this is in any way comparable or potentially even superior to like Ratatouille or WALL-E, the best that Disney Pixar has had to offer.
It's not Disney, not Disney films.
Of course.
Disney. We're bringing up a lot of Pixar stuff, but here's what I will say to that, Tucker.
Yeah.
A lot of Disney's classic stuff I actually did not see growing up. A lot of it I saw now as the 20-year-old man-child that I am. I've seen a lot of Disney stuff recently, especially when we got Disney Plus. I went back and saw a lot of the stuff I missed, and I think they hold up because I think a lot of them feel inventive and imaginative and timeless, and Raya just doesn't to me. I think
in certain respects it does. In certain respects it does not.
I just don't think that it's nearly as imaginative as some of these other films. It's got some interesting concepts, but on the whole, it feels like yet another 3D animated Disney Pixar House of Mouse film that has some memorable characters that'll be turned into toys and has some fun set pieces and some engaging aspects, but it just doesn't really stand up to what I think the best of not even classic Disney is, not even the best of modern Disney, I don't think, whether we're talking Disney proper animation or Pixar. And coming off of Disney Pixar's Soul, which we also reviewed, it's just hard to compete. I don't think that this film operates with a lot of thematic material that's particularly interesting. I don't think it operates with a lot of narrative weight. I just think I like Tuk Tuk or Tum Tum. I don't remember what his name was.
Tuk Tuk.
Voiced by Alan Tudyk, of course.
Yeah, that was weird. Looking at the credits there, and for the cast, they have essentially every Asian actor in Hollywood, which makes sense from them trying to pull in big names and get butts in seats, but it's kind of sad that that's the extent of the Asian representation in Hollywood.
We're checking off like 80 to 90% of notable Asian actors in Hollywood with the cast of this movie.
Except for Alan Tudyk, who voices Tuk Tuk and makes little noises.
Yeah.
Which, poor enough
of
for
course,
our
of course,
homie
Alan
Alan
also
Tudyk.
voicing Hey Hey in Moana. So, but
Okay.
let's get
Is
into
that the chicken?
yeah, it's the chicken.
Yes.
Great.
There's
Thank you,
a fun
Alan.
there's a fun little behind the scenes video of him doing like the chicken noises in the VO booth, and he turns to the camera and he says, "I went to Juilliard."
Well, here's the thing, actually. I think from my perspective, and the reason I'm going into this with a little more positive viewpoint, it seems, than the two of you guys, is that when I consider what I enjoy out of children's movies is memorable, fun-looking characters, is a unique world, is little bits of lore to grab onto, is these unique concepts, set pieces, things like that. And I do think that while this film doesn't execute on some of the potential that it does have in some areas, I think that on the whole it is a solid action adventure kids movie with a fun set of characters. I think that Raya herself has a lot of potential as one of the great new modern animated characters. And I think that we're just coming into it with a little bit of a jaded perspective
Yeah.
from the things that we've seen, because the humor, which we're going to talk about, didn't hit with us, but I guarantee it's fucking hilarious to kids.
I really hope that it's not, because we'll get into it. I think I want to follow in the footsteps of the title of this movie. So let's talk about Raya as a character first,
Okay, sure.
and then we'll get to the titular Last Dragon.
Oh yes.
So
we
Raya,
will.
Raya,
voiced,
the titular Raya, and then the titular Last Dragon.
yeah, voiced by Kelly Marie Tran, who does a good job. I
Great,
really
yeah.
liked her.
Great job.
Really cool character design for Raya, very simple but also very, I can see her being put alongside the iconography, even the new ones of like Moana and stuff like that, but like
100%.
the wide hat and the curved sword that whips out into a long thing.
Not a curved sword, a
The
lightning
Fire
bolt shaped
Emblem
sword.
sword.
Oh,
Much like the Levin sword from A Fire Emblem Awakening, which Robin uses. And then it has the abilities of the Sword of the Creator, which is the weapon that Byleth uses in Fire Emblem Three Houses. It's uncanny how
Tanner-
much they combine those two.
Tanner, I'd like to know that was almost too nerdy for even me. I will say what Tucker
Okay,
just said about the
okay.
Fire Emblem
Good
sword.
stuff.
Yeah,
Almost
but you
too
know
nerdy
what
for
I'm
even me.
talking about.
Of course, I know what you're talking about. Of
Are
course,
they
I
in
do.
Smash Brothers?
Yes, they both.
Yes, they are.
Okay. But yeah, what do you guys think about Raya?
I think
So-
she's great.
I agree. I am an average Rose Tico enjoyer, so I
Yeah.
was glad to have Kelly Marie Tran back here. I think she does a great job, and I think, like you're talking about, the design of Raya is really phenomenal. And I think the idea of having a more action-heavy Disney heroine is really great. I thought that on the whole, her character is one of the highlights of the film.
Yeah.
100%.
I think the issues that I have with her arc aren't, they're more emblematic of the larger writing issues that modern Disney films have been having. The sameness, the homogeneity. Is that right? Is that the word?
Homogeny.
Homogeny.
Homogeneity.
Yep.
Anemone?
Sure. Add some more
But
syllables in there while you're at
But
it.
also, speaking of the fight sequences, which I thought were very strong in this movie, it's very action heavy instead of being like a musical animation. The director actually came out, and one of the directors of this, I forget which one, did an interview where they said there is a version of this that has borderline R-rated violence in it. The fights resulting in broken bones and things of that nature. If this were not a Disney movie and we got that instead, I would have far. I feel like the writing would have been better, and of course, it would have felt more unique. But that's not the movie that we got, so that's besides the point.
Yeah, it kind of is. But here's the thing. I think that realizing it now, we don't get a lot of action heavy animated films.
No.
I mean, some of them, like, Brave has a few. I'm trying to even think.
Hero 6 might be the
Sure,
most
yeah, because that's a
action-heavy.
superhero film. Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. But on the whole, they're much more adventures sans action, and this was clearly action adventure with Uncharted style set pieces and escape sequences and all sorts of stuff. And I think that that's really fun. It's really unique. It gives Raya this really cool sense of weight. She has these unique ways that she approaches her combat situations. She's always able to use her own abilities and the abilities of her compatriots to solve any issues. And I think that creates a really fun dynamic. And I think it's the reason why Raya works so well. And again, like you guys said, Kelly Marie Tran did a great job as voice actors. I honestly, I don't think I recognized her, and I don't think I knew that from any of the marketing. I don't even remember if I've really seen the trailers for this. But it's interesting that I didn't recognize it because almost everyone else in the cast, I was instantly like, oh, yep, I recognize that voice. I know
Well-
exactly who that is, especially because a lot of their character designs look exactly like the actors playing them.
Tucker, who exactly could you be talking about right now? Who could we be talking about right now?
Well, we're gonna save the Titular Last Dragon for the end of this because I think that
Oh, okay.
that
We're not gonna
analysis also applies to the character that that Benedict Wong plays.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's a bunch of them that you can be like, yeah, that you can tell who that is. But yeah, it's Aquafina as
Okay.
Raya,
Well,
the last dragon.
thank you for slowing that segue down to a grinding halt. But
Well, I just wanted to say, so it wasn't only one that I was
okay,
referencing.
okay. Well, fair enough. Let's talk about Aquafina
Let's
as
rip the Band-Aid
Sisu,
off.
the last dragon. Abram, you I think saw this before us,
Yeah, I did.
and you sort of gave us a heads up going in about Aquafina's character. So I'd like you to take the wheel on this one.
So I don't know exactly at whose feet to lay the blame for what Aquafina does in this movie, but what I will say is that she is distractingly bad, and I think that this could lie at the feet of a poor script. How
Mhm.
much influence she had on her personal dialogue, I don't know, but Sisu's dialogue is uniquely bad in a way that I think cuts against the idea of Disney inventiveness and timelessness because she makes a lot of jokes that have no bearing on the world that she's in. She makes a joke about high school group projects. She makes a
Yeah.
joke about night lights. She makes a jokes about buying things on credit. There is so much weird shit that Aquafina says on top of her delivery being way too energetic and weird, in my opinion. I just think that she really took me out of the film. Aquafina, I like Aquafina. I'm also an average Ocean's 8 enjoyer, so I do like Aquafina in certain
Mhm.
situations, but man, I don't know if it was the script. I think it was partially the script, partially her delivery, but she just did not work for me in this movie at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's not her fault because all of the humor in this is very like modern references. Let's make it 100% palatable and recognizable and relatable. It's a lot of relatable comedy. Like, oh my, don't you remember the group projects? And isn't credit a funny concept to explore in a children's movie? Oh, well, I'm kind of a big dragon nerd. I'm surprised we didn't drop a fandom in there or something. I suppose that's probably
We were damn close. We were damn
close.
close, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm a real dragon stan.
Oh God. Well, here's the thing. You guys are right. She is the weakest aspect of this movie. She breaks the comedy, which by the way, I think the comedy outside of her is totally solid. I think it's charming kids movie fare. You mean you've got what's his name? Boone or whatever,
Yeah.
the kid that drives the ship. He's charming, he's funny, he's got his little bits of humor. I think that
Mhm.
I think a solid amount of the side characters are pretty much exactly what we come to expect, but they're fun. They're not anything horrendous, which is
Yeah.
unfortunately where Sisu falls. I think I gotta say, I was worried getting into the film. The opening sequence with that's sort of a flashback to her as a child.
Yeah.
You get this really shoehorned in lore sequence where like explain the history of the world.
Exposition dump. Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. Exposition dump. And then you get into the flashback sequence and the sort of writing that that Raya and her, sort of rival character Namari, they have is kind of like, oh, okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy this. However, there's, I think, a pretty noticeable jump in quality of the writing of the entire like world and such after that. And I think it starts to flesh out the more that we get into it, the more that we explore each area. Unfortunately, Raya throws a fucking curveball into that. However, she also disappears for about the last act, which is nice.
Yeah, I guess
because
so.
that's not an issue in the last act.
I think that speaks out to the larger issues I felt with pacing in the film, because I think that, first of all, that flashback sequence is really a rough way to start. I think that the film becomes a lot more interesting in terms of its narrative and its world design once we get to current age Raya. I thought that was a rough exposition heavy way to start, and then I think just the pacing of collecting the dragon balls before you get to the end of the film also felt weird.
I do want to note because I felt this in the theater and I just remembered it now. despite this script being very generic and very paint by numbers, especially by Disney standards, it opens with the trope of like, "Yep, that's me." I wonder how you. I bet you're wondering how I got here.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the exposition dump
Jesus
and
Christ.
the flashback. But over that exposition dump, I want to quickly note the score of this film, which I thought was probably my biggest positive coming out of it. I believe the composer's name is James Newton Howard, who also did the scores for Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and Treasure Planet. That was the last time he worked with Disney. Great score. Combines really elevate a lot of the scenes. My favorite is when Raya is like going to confront Namari after she has killed Sisu, and she's got the sword out behind her, and the cape is flown, the hat is pulled down, and the score is just like it's just going really hard, and I don't know, I don't quite remember, but I remember being caught up in that moment in the theater. I'm like, oh, this is like an actually really badass scene for a Disney animated movie.
Yeah, for sure. But I think one of the other things that I think I just want to touch on is the fact that I really enjoyed the world design of this. I think
that's my
at the
other big
beginning, I
positive.
was slightly turned off by the fact that, each of the areas are named after like a piece of the dragon. I just felt like that was a little bit cheap. But I think throughout you sort of get the idea that, well, obviously the world is shaped like a dragon, which, it's kind of weird. What does it look like on either side of that? Like, is it closed off? Is there other dragons? I don't know. But as we explored each one and you got to sort of see the culture of each place and get an idea of how the world fits together as a whole, I thought that in general, it's a really cool world to be in. It's got lots of little weird creatures running around. Each area has its own sort of culture and way of living. And I think that was really fun for me to see because, you get your, even with like Ratatouille and stuff, like, yeah, that's France, or it's like, okay, it's a kid's bedroom in Toy Story. And I'm referencing my own favorite ones to sort of show where my baseline is, but I'm a fan of a unique alien world for us to explore. I love being dropped in on a place with, wacky weapons and wacky transportation, wacky little creatures in the background. So
yeah,
I think that was a really cool aspect of it.
I just wish that we had gotten more time in any of those settings because they all looked really cool. I mean, you had like the basic ones. You had like, oh, it's the desert area. It's the snowy area. It's kind of like it's kind of like
area with like redwood tree sized bamboo.
Yeah.
That's dope.
It's kind of like Star Wars planets. You got the ones they had to check off the list. But the floating one, I don't remember which one that was called, but it was the one where the old lady was in charge. And that's where she meant the thief baby and the monkeys. I really wasn't expecting boss baby, some boss baby humor in this movie, but that's what we got. Disney, I know you can do better than that. Please don't make this a thing that you keep doing. It was not funny in the slightest.
Boss Baby, not Disney.
Well, I know.
That's an important point, actually, because I think that this film felt pretty DreamWorks to me on the whole, in a lot of different respects, which is, I would say, a categorical negative for my personal taste. But I was also not crazy about Boss Baby. I like the monkeys a little bit more.
I love the monkeys. They're great.
And it was a fun area. And I think it speaks to the fact that Raya and the Last Dragon is a really compelling world that I hope gets explored again. But I just don't think we explored it properly.
Maybe they can put those worlds into Disney Infinity.
I fucking wish. I wish. They'll be in Kingdom Hearts before they're in Disney
good.
Infinity. But I just think that, like Tucker was saying, and like you were saying too, Tanner, that it's the world and the lore they set up that really kept me interested.
Yeah.
But it's just placed underneath all of these vignettes that are tied together by the most basic plot about finding things and learning the value of trust.
Yeah.
It's a MacGuffin quest to remind kids to trust people, which just felt a little bit basic. It felt like, okay, here's a bunch of like pre-generated elements we're gonna click together to make like a Lego brick plot,
put it in an interesting world, which again is one of my biggest positives coming out. We keep bringing up Moana. I brought it up a few times. I think Moana is probably like the strongest version of what this film can be. Has a interesting world, adopts some cultural things to make it sort of magical, whimsical world. the cast of characters is smaller, so we get more time to really delve into and get to know our main character rather than being weighed down by a baby, three monkeys, a big guy with an eye patch, and a kid with a shrimp boat as well, and
And a dragon.
a magical talking dragon,
And her enemy.
and her enemy.
Namari.
Yeah, I wish
And Tuk Tuk.
I honestly wish that Namari and Raya had their relationship was more fleshed out. I think they had a really interesting rivalry, and had that been given more time and more weight, this would have been a much stronger film. But yeah, a lot of it was just given time to the side characters and their lame jokes. We had to get reaction shots from all of them whenever something happened. The editing was very uh, jarring and fast paced to get all those reaction shots in, just to for Disney to squeeze out a laugh any place that they could.
Sure.
I would also say that this film, unlike a lot of other modern Disney films, feels very derivative of things we've gotten before. I
Mhm.
feel like you could probably throw Mulan and Moana in a blender and pretty directly get something like Raya and the Last Dragon. Of course, you have some more unique lore elements, but I just, like I was saying at the top, I just did not feel the spark of originality that I feel in a lot of modern Disney films
Yeah.
and classic Disney films. This felt like going through the motions. There's a lot of new talent here behind the camera.
Yeah.
So if this is like, okay, let's get our feet under us and then move forward in a more like creatively distinct way, then cool. But this was a fairly forgettable film that,
Mhm.
by the way, should not have been premiere access. Soul should have been premiere access. This should have been free to
It's
everybody.
very strange
Yeah.
that Disney's like, you know what we're going to charge money for? Live action Mulan and Raya and the Last Dragon. No, we're going to give away for free Soul, Oscar contender and probably future Oscar winner, and critically acclaimed, multiple Tony winning musical Hamilton. We're going to give that away for free too.
Yeah. I think that is possible that with the $30 thing, they're trying to sell it more as, look, this is a premium product. We do have our money behind this. We do believe that it's worth paying this for. But unfortunately, for those who consume it, you can tell that there's a difference in quality somehow of the ones they think are worth charging for versus the ones not, which maybe just sets your expectations properly for the next year of Disney releases. If it's gonna cost you $30, maybe don't spend $30 on it. It's free.
Well, yeah.
It might be good. But I think that the final thing I want to touch on is the theme of trust,
Yeah,
like you guys were
sure.
talking about, which I didn't catch until they were just explaining it like word for word at the end.
Well, it's pretty complex. I mean, it's a children's movie.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is I think that this movie had an idea that I was looking for, that I thought it set up and didn't properly execute with, which is my personal reason why I think it didn't execute properly on its potential. Which is at the beginning, you have Raya's father explaining to her that not every outside group is exactly what they seem. They might seem like thieves. They might seem like they're ruthless, but everyone has their own perspective, and everything's not exactly what it seems from the outside. And I thought that's what the theme was going to be. I thought she was going to be traveling from place to place, realizing that the places that she thought were just like ruthless cutthroat areas were actually just defending themselves or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And there were hints of that throughout, but then the theme of trust was like stuck up the ass halfway through, and I was like, oh, okay. Especially because I think they kind of went backwards on it, like the theme of people not being exactly what they seem. She was like analyzing the people from Fang or whatever as ruthless or thieves. One of the fucking places was the thief place where she found the baby. And then they were thieves and they were tricking the characters and like all of that. So it kind of just killed that possibility, which would have been a very unique theme, which would have been good theme to get kids to learn about, and could have given this movie a unique flair, but they just quashed that immediately.
Yeah, I'd like to point out with the trust theme, it sort of falls flat for me because Sisu's like, oh, you gotta trust everybody, and kids are gonna listen to the sprightly magical talking dragon. But Sisu learned that trust lesson from her family trusting her, and Raya sort of have to extrapolate that out to be like, you have to trust literally everyone in this land. It's sort of this like familial trust directly equals like massive, across the board trusting everyone to do the right thing, which you could have made that a more direct one-to-one very easily, but they just didn't. It kind of works, but at the same time I'm like, well, it could have been better. And that's sort of where I'm at with this film. It was all right, has some good stuff, could have been better.
If I may put a final nail into the thematic coffin of,
Mhm.
of Raya and the Last Dragon, the film ending on what was their word for like we're all friends again, whatever it is, the concept of peace between all the parts of the
Mhm.
dragon. There's an exchange between not Nadiri, that's from Avatar. What's the name of
Namari.
Raya's Namari? Namari is talking to her mother about, well, here comes Raya and Sisu. Let's just team up with them. We'll put the dragon gem back together. Her mom's like, no, we need to protect ourselves. We can't have everyone come back and start assigning blame and everything. There's going to be this conflict, which just doesn't happen. Everybody comes back from being stone people, and then we're all just
Sure.
happy again. Also, like I don't even think that the thematic point is in concert with the more overt narrative thread that we were pulling at. I don't know. This
Yeah.
is a Frozen 2.
Yeah, it's about on the level. It's a little bit better than Frozen 2. Do we want to give like a rating? Is that something we should do at the end of these? For me, it's a 6 out of 10. That's what it is for me.
It's an extra spicy bowl of shrimp soup out of Boss Baby for
Nice.
me.
Boss Baby 2 Family Business.
I initially rated this 4 stars on Letterboxd. You guys have killed my childlike wonder that I got from this movie, but I think that that's reasonable. I think that it kind of just showed me that I was forcing myself to be positive. And I'm glad we had the discussion, and I'm a little more jaded because of it. But
Yeah.
would you
Jaded
rather
and
be?
cynical.
I gotta say, I think it's average. I do want to see it again at some point. I think animated movies you get a lot more out of once you have seen it the first time. You know what to expect, and you can kind of dig into it a little bit deeper.
Like
Mhm.
Akira.
Speaking of jaded and cynical old men, the next new movie that we will be reviewing is Zack Snyder's Justice League. So stay
Tom and
tuned for
Jerry.
that. We're not doing Tom and Jerry, goddammit. We're doing
Even I
Zack.
might.
I mean, apparently HBO Max is getting them confused too, so maybe we will as well. But no, the next film we will be reviewing is Zack Snyder's Justice League. So stay tuned right here to Backlog Banter for all of that. Thanks for watching, guys.